Do you think this trunk looked like it survived a zombie apocalypse? Let's take a closer look. It kind of looks like it could have. It looks like it might have been out in the sun too long or burned a little bit, and who knows what that is. Ooh. Okay, let's not look at that anymore. It kind of smells like a zombie apocalypse, which I don't really know what that smells like, but I'm thinking it's close. Let's close that lid. And the box is sturdy. It definitely needs cleaned up. It's sturdy. So it survived, and we're going to get to it. This is part of the Eco Challenge 2024 edition, the Zombie Apocalypse. Hosted by Marah from Borderline Furniture RX. Our job is to reuse, recycle, or reinvent this piece that looked like it survived a zombie apocalypse using eco-friendly products. We can do modern, industrial, steampunk, or futuristic. Vinegar is one of the most eco-friendly and natural cleansers that I know. I simply mixed it with water and sprayed it. It'll help to disinfect this. It's a natural disinfectant, and it'll also help with the odor. It'll replace that funky odor with vinegar. It'll smell like salad for a while, but that's better than how it smelled before. I'll leave the lid open after I'm done cleaning, and hopefully all of the odors will disappear. I decided to go with a steampunk aesthetic. So I did a little bit of research just so I could really embrace that. It says here, steampunk is a subgenre of science fiction that incorporates technology and designs inspired by the 19th century fashion and industrial machinery, including steam-powered machinery, hence the name. Steampunk fiction explores the idea of what would happen if the steam machinery was the primary energy and the Victorian fashions remained. I googled a bunch of images and then I decided to go to Etsy. Something told me I'd be able to download some cool images, and I was able to. From Honeycomb Pro Design, it was $10.27, and it was well worth it. There were a lot of images that I didn't like, but then there were others that I loved. So I loaded some rice paper that I got from Amazon in my printer, and I'll put that link down below, and I'll also put the link for the Etsy shop transaction here. Note, just a little tip here, don't put too much paper in, do it one sheet at a time. So prevalent in the steampunk aesthetic, goggles, crinoline, lots of Victorian things, but also lots of fancy things, just fanciful things, and also, again, the steam gears and stuff. My screws to put on the wheels are too thick for that box. They would stick up. So we're going to go with using the nuts and bolts. So that means I have to drill holes in the bottom first. And I have to drill them big enough for the nut to go through. So that was a little bit of a process because I got them too close to the sides of the box at first. So yeah, I worked with that for a while. This piece should be the perfect height for a coffee table with these industrial type wheels. They add about 5 inches to the height, and they are locking so they won't roll around when you don't want it to. With the wheels finally on, I started to lay out my papers where I wanted them on my piece. It was kind of a dry fit, and I would pick them up and keep them in a pile so that I knew which pile went to which side. I wanted to just put a layer of a lighter color, so I used drop cloth here from Dixie Belle Paint. Because I painted on rice paper, I have to use a lighter color underneath so that you see it. So I'm just kind of roughly making a little outline as to where these pieces will be. It doesn't matter if it's perfect because I'm going to blend in another light color, which is also called dried sage from Dixie Belle. So it's a little bit of difference, and it's just going to blend together a little bit. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. This piece is going to be lots of layers of things, so it's all going to kind of come together in the end, and I think it'll be a really good thing. On the top of the piece, I wanted to keep my images kind of more sparse and definitely very interesting because I wanted to add some words to the top of the piece as well. Before I begin to decoupage my pieces on, I use the filigree silkscreen stencil from Dixie Belle, and I use Moonshine Metallics in Deep Woods and do a little stenciling of a damask pattern. I also add another image from the filigree stencil in Pacific. That's another color from the Moonshine Metallics. Now it's time to decoupage all those images on. I'm going to use Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in Satin. So you know I'm a brand ambassador for Made by Marley Papers. So this is totally different. I use Mod Podge on those decoupage papers because they're a lot heavier. And also you don't have to paint underneath them. This is different because I printed these out on my printer and I used rice paper. So you don't need as heavy a decoupage medium, and that's why the satin clear coat is perfect for this application. I used an inkjet printer, and my ink runs just a tad whenever I use the clear coat. I'm okay with that in this application because it's given kind of a dark little rusty shadow around it, and which is absolutely perfect for this piece. So using a laser printer helps to cut down on that ink transfer. And I also find that using the Mod Podge doesn't disturb the ink quite as much either. And I continue the whole way around the box. As you're watching, remember to watch the rest of the videos in the playlist. I'll have the playlist in the description box as well as in the comments section. Now I'm covering all the areas that weren't decoupaged so everything will have the same sheen. Next, I prepare an Iron Orchid design stamp that I've never used. So I'm using a little bit of sandpaper just to give it a little bit of a tooth. It's just a 220 grit, and you never have to do this again, just priming it. I decide on the expression that I'm going to use, and I lay out all the letters, and then I use one of the thin mounts to put all my stamps on and ink it from there, and then I can stamp it in one fell swoop. I'm just filling in some of the letters that were duplicates now. I used black for all the lettering, and now I'm using stone gray to use some images from the Charlotte stamp, such as a teacup and some of the gears and a butterfly, and randomly put them all over the piece. They don't show up very dark at all, but they're just another layer, another dimension. It's just kind of a shadowy effect, and I really love all the depth that it's given. I felt like my letters weren't quite dark enough, so I'm using a black Posca marker to go over them carefully. I had this little butterfly-shaped hinge in my stash, and I thought that would be perfect for the top of the box. It's a little out of proportion, but the butterfly was just perfect. And now I'm looking over some molds to add to the piece. This one I got one time at Michael's for like $1 a piece or $2 a piece. They're gears, which I didn't have any gear molds. And then there's the clock mold. So I'm using amazing casting resin from Alumilite and the 2-part epoxy, and it comes out white. I use Titebond quick and thick glue to adhere the molds to the piece, and because it's a vertical surface, I'm using painter's tape just to keep them in place until they dry. I avoided putting any molds on the top because I wanted to keep it a flat surface so that people could actually use it as a coffee table. I also like these little corner pieces too, so I cast some of those and put in the upper corner. And now I'm using the bronze color in the Dixie Belle patina line, and I'm just using an artist brush and just painting all of those castings now. I also paint the hinge. I plan on using the patina spray in the blue, but I won't actually be spraying it. If you notice on the nozzle, it's a little bit clogged. That's what happens if you don't take that sprayer off and rinse it after every use. So I'm just using a paper towel and dabbing the product on. But I didn't quite get the look that I wanted, so now I'm using Dragonfly Glaze in the blue, green, gold shift. That has sort of a glittery effect. I didn't really love it either, but we're going to tone that down a little bit using some Van Dyke Brown glaze from Dixie Belle. I'm just using a large brush and just kind of putting it around the corners and the edges and then wiping it back really fast so that it doesn't leave marks. I just want a subtle effect. There were a few places where I didn't wipe it back fast enough and I got sort of a line. So I fixed that by using a 220 grit sandpaper. There, that's better. Now I'm going to use Dixie Belle's Boss inside of the crate. The reason I'm doing this, I'm using the clear color. At first I thought there was something wrong with it, but I forgot that I was using up this clear. Dixie Belle has since changed the formula. This is just Boss, so it's odor blocking and also stain blocking. But the new formula also has the slick stick built into it too, so it's also a bonding primer. So I'm using up some old inventory here, but this is in the clear, so it's not going to affect anything color-wise. I just am going to seal in that odor. I put a piece of styrofoam down in the bottom of the box. And then I laid another piece of paper over top of that. It's a poster board that I am gluing some really vintage wallpaper on. Wait till you see this print on this wallpaper. It's crazy. I think that this wallpaper is probably turn of the century. It's almost like cardboard. It's kind of even thicker than that contractor's paper. It's like a paper bag almost. So I'm not sure how they worked with that because I had trouble with it. It tore on me, but I was able to get a big enough piece, and the pattern is really cool and just perfect for this piece because it has spider webs in it. I just think that's a really cool design, and it's kind of hard to believe that that was the style then. But anyway, I just had it in my stash and it's just sitting there, so this is the perfect project to use it. So I am just distributing that Mod Podge all over that poster board, and then I will attach the wallpaper to it. I did a little more stamping on the inside of the lid with the Iron Orchid Design Charlotte stamp. I used the Charlotte, and I'm also using the little bird and the teacup. So I stamped the bird first, and then I'm going to use one of the masks, and then I'll stamp the teacup because I want to make it look like the bird is sitting on the rim of the teacup. And the mask gives it some dimension, because it just looks like it's sitting there and the teacup, part of the teacup, is behind him. The masks are included in the stamp sets. I use a little 220 grit sanding sponge and just go over what I stamped just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of that faded look. And I'm going to come in with my paint and touch up a little bit as well. Remember how this trunk started out? We'll take a look at it now. Don't forget to watch all of the videos in the playlist. I'll link it below in the description box and also in the comments. Thanks so much for watching today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Also, hit the join button and join our channel membership for only 99 cents a month for some exclusive content. Find us on the web at www.statementdesigns.org and on social media as Statement Designs. Stay well.